Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India hosts the second voice of the Global South Summit in virtual format. Prime Minister says that the Global South always existed geographically, but is getting a voice for the first time. India will host the Global India AI Summit in December. Israeli army says that they found a tunnel and weapons at Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. The body of a hostage has also been found at a building adjacent to the hospital. Australia have won the low-scoring semi-final against South Africa and have set up a title clash with India on Sunday in Ahmedabad. The virtual session of the second voice of the Global South Summit began in New Delhi, and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session, during which he asserted that geographically, the Global South has always existed, but it's getting a voice for the first time, and this is because of joint efforts.
भौगोलिक रूप से तो ग्लोबल साउथ तो हमेशा से रहा है, लेकिन उसे इस प्रकार से वॉइस पहली बार मिल रही है और यह हम सभी के साझा प्रयासों से संभव हुआ है। हम 100 से ज्यादा अलग अलग देश हैं, लेकिन हमारे हित समान है, हमारी प्राथमिकताएं समान है। फ्रेंड्स, पिछले वर्ष दिसंबर में जब भारत ने G20 की अध्यक्षता संभाली, तो हमने इस फोरम में ग्लोबल साउथ के देशों की आवाज को आगे बढ़ाना अपना दायित्व माना।
The Prime Minister also touched on the Israel-Hamas conflict, saying that India has exercised restraint so far and has always given emphasis to dialogue and diplomacy. He stressed that this is the time when the countries of the Global South should unite for the greater global good.
सिविलियंस की मौत की हम कठोर निंदा करते हैं। राष्ट्रपति महमूद अब्बास जी से बात कर हमने फिलिस्तीन के लोगों के लिए मानवीय सहायता भी भेजी है। ये समय है जब ग्लोबल साउथ के देश ग्रेटर ग्लोबल गुड के लिए एक स्वर में बात करें। वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर के लिए हम सब मिलकर 5 C's के साथ आगे बढ़ें। जब मैं 5 C's की बात करता हूं तब कंसल्टेशन, कोऑपरेशन, कम्युनिकेशन, क्रिएटिविटी और कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग।
Stressing on the responsible use of artificial intelligence, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that India will be organizing the Artificial Intelligence Global Partnership Summit.
भारत मानता है कि नई टेक्नोलॉजी नॉर्थ और साउथ के बीच दूरियां बढ़ाने का नया स्रोत नहीं बनना चाहिए। आज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एआई के युग में टेक्नोलॉजी को रिस्पॉन्सिबल तरीके से उपयोग में लाने की बहुत जरूरत है। इसको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए भारत में अगले महीने एआई ग्लोबल पार्टनरशिप समिट आयोजित की जा रही है। G20 द्वारा डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर यानी डीपीआई के फ्रेमवर्क को अपनाया गया है, जिससे आवश्यक सेवाओं की लास्ट माइल डिलीवरी में सहायता मिलेगी और इंक्लूसिविटी बढ़ेगी।
There's an update now on the Israel-Hamas conflict. The Israeli military has said that they've uncovered a Hamas tunnel shaft at Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital complex. The army said that the troops also found a vehicle in the hospital containing a large number of weapons. The military made public these videos and photographs of the tunnel shaft and the weapons.
The army forces found underground shaft inside AI Shifa hospital. The engineering forces destroyed the infrastructure. We also found in the hospital Hamas vehicle that was ready to be part of the October 7 attack, but did not go on the road, and inside it was a huge amount of arms.
Israel's military said that its soldiers have found the body of an Israeli hostage taken into Gaza by Hamas in its attack last month. Israel's military spokesperson said that the body of Yehudit Weiss, who is one of the hostages taken by Hamas's militants, was recovered by the troops in a building near the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza.
The body of Yehudit, may her soul rest in peace, was recovered by our forces. The 7th Brigade, which was scanning the area nearby the Al-Shifa hospital, recovered her body in one of the homes during the scanning. Near her body, we found bodies of terrorists who were holding Yehudit.
Israel has said that the military uncovered significant material in its operation at the Al-Shifa hospital. Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, said its commandos were still searching through the Al-Shifa hospital. And he added that the operation to wipe out Hamas terrorists is being done in a precise, selective and very determined manner.
There are significant findings there. The operation continues and it is done in a precise, selective but very, very determined manner. The more we deepen this operation, increase the pressure on Hamas and erode more headquarters, damage more tunnels, eliminate more operatives and bring down more heads of organizations, the greater the chances of returning our hostages. Because the enemy only understands power, and we explain to him very well what power is.
Mobile phone and internet services have gone down across the Gaza Strip. This is because of a lack of fuel for backup generators. The telecom firms have said that all energy sources sustaining their networks were depleted, and an internet monitor confirmed a major outage. The communications shut down, also the absence of fuel, and the UN refugee agency UNRWA said that they will be unable to send trucks to pick up aid supplies for Gazans from the border with Egypt from Friday onwards. Earlier on Wednesday, the first fuel tanker arrived in Gaza since the conflict had begun last month. David DePape was found guilty in a San Francisco federal court on Thursday of attempting to kidnap the former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and assaulting her husband with a hammer after he broke into the couple's home last year. The crimes carry potential prison sentences of 20 years and 30 years, respectively, under federal sentencing guidelines. The Mexican photojournalist Ismael Villagomez was killed in Juarez while he was working as a ride-share driver. The incident occurred in a violent border city where Mexico is considered one of the most dangerous peacetime nations for journalists. InDrive, the ride-hailing platform, has arrested 3 persons, but the journalistic community and his family are seeking clarification on the cause of Villagomez's death. The police in Ventura County, California, arrested Loe Al-Naji on suspicion of manslaughter for the death of a Jewish man who fell to the ground during pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian street demonstrations earlier this month. The incident occurred during the ongoing street protests over the military conflict between Israel and Palestine, the Palestinian group that is Hamas. Greek farming village Metamorphosi is considering relocation following September's devastating floods. The village, located in the Thessaly plain, is expected to retain its name and store farm machinery and old buildings. The Civil Engineering Department cites repeated flooding and geomorphology as reasons for this move. The village's 240 residents are mostly cotton farmers, and they've moved in with relatives or have rented in the nearby towns. Still to come here on DD India Live. Finland to close some border crossings with Russia to deter asylum seekers. The International Court of Justice is due to pass a ruling on alleged ethnic cleansing of Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. And SpaceX's second Starship launch will take place on November 18. Stay tuned to know more about this. You're watching DD India Live. My name is Mark Lin. Now, Finland will close some crossings on the border with Russia from Friday. The Prime Minister Petteri Orpo has said on Thursday that 4 crossing points in the south would close at midnight on Friday, and 2 in the north are going to remain open for asylum applications. The neighboring Norway, which shares a border as well with Russia in the Arctic, is also ready to close its border at short notice if necessary. Here's Trent Murray with a report.
Well, Finland shares a 1,300-kilometre border with Russia. It is the largest border of any neighbouring European nation. But the president of Finland has announced that he will be ordering the closure of 4 of the country's 9 official border crossings. Now, the reason he says he is doing this is because the country is experiencing a surge in immigrants trying to cross the border from Russia. He has accused Moscow of engineering a problem with asylum seekers in order to enact revenge on Finland for its cooperation with the United States and NATO. What we are hearing from Helsinki is that there has been a large surge in people coming from third countries, in other words, people from outside of Europe arriving at that border with Finland claiming asylum. The Finnish are saying that the Russians are helping them get to the border as part of a scheme, as I say, in order to try and play geopolitical games, according to the government in Finland. Now, it is important to note this is not just happening in Finland, it's also happening in neighbouring Norway. The government there has suggested it too may be about to close its border with Russia because of a big spike in people arriving at its border claiming asylum. And this is not necessarily a new problem in Europe. We have seen this type of action before when immigrants were travelling through Belarus in order to try and gain entry to Poland, again a European Union country. And for people caught in the crosshairs of this, they are quite often desperate people trying to gain asylum or migration rights to the European Union, but they find themselves really caught up in a game of geopolitical chess between the EU and Russia. So moving forward as we go into the winter, we know conditions there are very, very tough for people trying to cross illegally. But what we are hearing is that governments across Europe are going to treat this problem very, very seriously. And if it comes to it, close the borders with Russia completely. Trent Murray for DD India, Berlin.
The United Nations Stop Court will hand down its ruling on Friday on a case brought by Armenia against Azerbaijan. Armenia wants the court to put restrictive measures in place to prevent what they call ethnic cleansing of Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. This claim is rejected by Azerbaijan. Alex Kadia reports.
It's now nearly 2 months since Azerbaijani forces stormed into Nagorno-Karabakh, uprooting the local self-proclaimed Republic of Artsakh, which had close ties with Armenia. What followed was the exodus of more than 100,000 ethnic Armenians from the region, leaving shattered lives behind. Armenia now says the few that remain are at risk of ethnic cleansing at the hands of Azerbaijani troops, and it wants the International Court of Justice to step in. Armenia is asking the ICJ to put in place 10 provisional measures aimed at protecting the rights of ethnic Armenians from that Nagorno-Karabakh region. The head of Armenia's legal team says nothing other than targeted and unequivocal provisional measures protecting the rights of ethnic Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh will suffice to prevent the ethnic cleansing Azerbaijan is perpetrating from continuing and becoming irreversible. Meanwhile, Azerbaijan has strenuously denied all of Armenia's allegations. The country's deputy foreign minister, Elnur Mammadov, said Azerbaijan has not engaged and will not engage in ethnic cleansing or any form of attack on the civilian population of Karabakh. The International Court of Justice is currently working through 2 similar cases linked to the decades-long conflict between the two sides. In 2021, Armenia filed a claim accusing Azerbaijan of breaching the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. Shortly thereafter, Azerbaijan filed a counterclaim accusing Armenia of doing the same thing. The legal wranglings between an emboldened Azerbaijan and a weakened Armenia will likely carry on beyond this ruling, a ruling which even the court will have no practical way to enforce. Alex Kadia in Brussels reporting for DD India.
In some news that's coming in from the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, well, 5 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists have been neutralized in an ongoing gun battle with security forces in the Kulgam district. According to the Kashmir Police, the operation was undertaken by the Kulgam Police, Army and CRPF and is in its final stages, and the area has been sanitized. The police added that incriminating materials were recovered. The encounter broke out on Thursday afternoon at the Samno pocket of the DH Pora area of Kulgam district. And correspondent Shabir Dar is joining us with more on this story. Well, Shabir, this is an ongoing encounter that's taken from, it began yesterday. Fill us in with the details as to how it began and what's actually happened.
Yeah, it was actually the intelligence input where the joint forces of Army, Police and CRPF launched and search operation, and the militants fired from their side, and the encounter ensued in this process. It started yesterday, and it was suspended for the night. But this morning, when it started, the forces got a huge success by eliminating 5 terrorists in the area, and their identity is yet to be ascertained, but it is believed that huge ammunition and arms have been recovered from the site. The senior police officials are on site. The forces are sanitizing the area and launching the combing operation to ensure that no more terrorists are holed up in the residential areas. The South Kashmir area, which has usually been, the militant activities has been, very huge in this area, right. And the elimination of 5 terrorists today is, really a big success in, ensuring that there is the terrorists and their ecosystem is eliminated in Kashmir.
Any information on the identity of the terrorists and whether they had come in from Pakistan?
See, the operation is in the final stages, and the process of identification is being, carried out by the forces. And it is believed that very, very soon the senior officials of the police, army and CRPF will give a press brief in which they will be, actually identifying the terrorists and their affiliations and the amount of arms and ammunition that has been recovered from the encounter site.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Shabir Dar, for that information. Now, efforts to evacuate 40 trapped construction workers in a tunnel in the North Indian state of Uttarakhand have intensified, and progress has been made, and their progress has been seen as well, as a heavy-duty drilling machine penetrated 21 meters of rubble on the Char Dham route. Officials reported the insertion of a 6-meter steel pipe as well into the bored passage, and it's given some sort of room and scope to try and raise hopes of a successful rescue. A deep depression over the Bay of Bengal on Friday intensified into a cyclonic storm and will graze past the Sundarbans before making landfall on the Bangladesh coast. The Bangladesh Meteorological Department said that the deep depression over the northwest Bay of Bengal adjoining the area moved northeastwards and intensified into a cyclonic storm. It's called Midhili, and all fishermen and boats, they are over the North Bay. They've been also the ones in deep sea have been put on high alert. They've also advised people not to venture into the sea until further notice. Well, SpaceX is about to test its spacecraft flight for a second time as part of a wider mission with NASA to get humans back to the moon. The first test flight, as we remember, blew up a few minutes after takeoff, and it's taken quite a few months to get regulators to clear another try. Here's Caroline Malone with the report.
SpaceX is hoping to be part of the next giant leap for mankind, 50 years after humans first went to the moon. A test window for the Starship spacecraft launch will open from Saturday, when the spacecraft is due to shoot up and then detach from its rocket. CEO Elon Musk said earlier in the year he sees about a 50% chance of it reaching orbital velocity, but even getting to stage separation is a win. That's better odds than when it first tested in April, when the Starship faltered within minutes after it took off and had to self-destruct, exploding over the Gulf of Mexico. Since then, SpaceX has had to wait for safety and environmental reviews, but has now been cleared by regulators to try again. The ultimate goal is for the spacecraft to play a part in NASA's Artemis moon mission, a return to the lunar surface in 2025. And even to put humans onto Mars for the first time. Caroline Malone in Washington, reporting for DD India.
India's non-governmental entities, led by the InSpace, they are exploring a partnership in the UAE to unlock collaborative potential with global companies. India, despite being a leading spacefaring nation, accounts for only 2% of global space economy. InSpace, in collaboration with ISRO, is devising a decadal vision and strategy for the Indian space economy. InSpace digital platform was launched in August of 2022. It streamlines application submission, processing, and also approvals of the NGEs. This is for the NGEs in the space sector. And the platform has already submitted over 350 applications. In the Cricket World Cup, Australia are in the finals. The Aussies defeated South Africa by 3 wickets in the second semi-final in India's eastern city of Kolkata. Well, Australia are going to meet India for the title on Sunday, and it was a low-scoring match between South Africa and Australia. South Africa were bundled out for 212 runs with Australian pacers Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood wreaking havoc. The Proteas at one time were actually at 24 for the loss of 4 wickets. But then David Miller rose to the occasion. He slammed a century and helped his side reach a decent score of 212 on the board given the conditions. And Australia started well with Warner and Travis Head hitting about 60 runs in less than 7 overs and looked all but over for the South Africans. But then the going got tough for Australia because they kept losing wickets at regular intervals, thanks to some very tight bowling by Keshav Maharaj and Tabraiz Shamsi, making the contest pretty keen. But then the Australian captain Cummins and his fellow pacer Starc, They batted with some assurance towards the end and took their side over with nearly 3 overs to spare. India defeated Kuwait 1-0 in the FIFA World Cup second round qualifiers. Manveer Singh scored with a left-footed shot in the 75th minute as he connected with Lalian Zulala Changate, the cross from him, and that helped India to win the match at the Jabbar Al Ahmed International Stadium. Kuwait ended the match with 10 men as its player Faisal Aharabi was sent off after picking his second yellow card in the 3rd minute and added time for a high boot challenge on Changate. When India plays the Asian champions Qatar next on November 21 in Bhubaneswar. India is placed in Group A alongside Qatar, Kuwait and Afghanistan, with the 2 top countries from the group progressing to the 3rd round of the FIFA World Qualifiers. And some news from the tennis world. The world number 1 Djokovic has advanced to the semi-finals of the ATP Finals after defeating Hubert Hurkacz. He's won 7-6, 4-6, 6-1 in their green group match. Djokovic had dropped a set against Hurkacz, and he was replaced. Hurkacz had replaced the injured Stefanos Tsitsipas in Turin. Meanwhile, Jannik Sinner put away Holger Rune to claim the top spot of the green group as the tournament marches into the semi-finals. The home favourite has already secured a spot in the semis, making him the first Italian in the tournament in the 54 years of the tournament to reach this stage. Sinner has reached 60 victories in 2023 after a fierce battle against the world number 8 Rune. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, and on Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here at DD India Live. Thanks very much for watching. Namaskar.